It was a cool autumn evening in Chicago, and the city's energy buzzed outside the Green Door Cafe. The cozy little cafe was a place Sam Miller and Lily Harper often came to unwind after long days at the Cobalt Stage Theatre, where they worked tirelessly to prepare for the upcoming production. Tonight, however, something felt off. Sam took a sip of her coffee, her eyes scanning over the sketches she had been working on for weeks. Her mind raced with thoughts about the set design, but she couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her. Lily was late. It wasn't like her. Just as Sam was about to check her phone, the door swung open, and Lily strode in, her usual radiant smile absent from her face. Her eyes were downcast, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Lily," Sam said, setting her sketches down. "What's going on? You okay?" Lily forced a smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a lot on my mind." Sam raised an eyebrow. "You sure? You've been distant lately." Lily hesitated, clearly uncomfortable under Sam's gaze. She sat down across from Sam, letting out a long sigh. "Sam, there's something I need to tell you." Before Lily could continue, the cafe door swung open again, and in walked David Carter, Sam's ex-husband. He smiled at Lily and made his way over to their table. "David, what are you doing here?" Sam's voice was cold, her eyes narrowing. It had been months since they'd spoken, but his presence still caused a flare of anger in her chest. David, ever charming, flashed his trademark grin. "I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd drop by and catch up." Lily's face blushed, but she quickly masked it with a smile. "I'm glad you did," she said, her voice a little too bright. Sam's gaze flickered between the two of them. Something wasn't right. There was a tension in the air, but neither of them seemed willing to acknowledge it. The conversation that followed was stilted and awkward. Sam couldn't help but notice the way David and Lily exchanged glances every now and then. It wasn't anything overt, but there was something in the way they avoided her eyes that made Sam's skin crawl. She tried to push the feeling aside, telling herself it was just her imagination. "So, how's the set design coming along?" David asked, his voice smooth, as though nothing had changed between them. "Fine," Sam replied curtly, her mind still focused on the uneasy atmosphere around them. She had no intention of getting into a conversation with him, especially not after everything that had happened. Lily shifted in her seat, tapping her fingers nervously on the table. Sam noticed, but she didn't press her. Lily had always been a little jumpy when it came to David, even when they were still married. It was as though she was walking on eggshells around him, something Sam had never quite understood. "I should probably go," Sam said after a few minutes, standing up abruptly. "I need to get back to the theater before the rehearsal starts." "You too. Enjoy catching up." David flashed a charming smile at her, as though he hadn't just broken her heart years ago. "Take care, Sam." Sam didn't respond. She grabbed her bag and hurried out the door, leaving behind the growing tension between the two people she thought she could trust. Outside, the cold air hit her face, but it didn't numb the feeling of betrayal starting to stir in her chest. The uneasy feeling hadn't left, and now it was a gnawing ache she couldn't ignore. Back at the theater, Sam threw herself into her work, throwing her energy into the details of the set design. It was her escape, her way of drowning out everything that was happening around her. The lights dimmed, and the cast began their rehearsal as Sam and Lily made their way backstage. Lily hadn't said much since their encounter at the cafe, and Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between them. It wasn't just the distance, it was the silence that hung heavy in the air whenever Lily was around. "I'm sorry about earlier," Lily said, breaking the silence as she picked up a costume piece from the table. "I didn't mean to make things weird with David." Sam looked up from her work, her eyes narrowing. "Weird?" She repeated the word slowly, as if testing it. "Lily, you've been acting strange for a while now. What's going on?" Lily hesitated, her fingers clutching the fabric of the costume nervously. "It's just, I've been overwhelmed. I've got a lot on my mind, and David and we've been working together more lately, you know? It's just been stressful." Sam watched her, not buying it for a second. "You're not telling me something." Before Lily could respond, the theater's back door slammed open. Sam's heart dropped when she saw David step into the room, his confident stride familiar but unwelcome. He was too close for comfort, and Sam couldn't hide the contempt in her eyes. "David, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice colder than she intended. "I just wanted to check on the rehearsal. Make sure everything's running smoothly," David said, not bothering to look at Sam as he addressed Lily instead. "You're doing a great job with the costumes, Lily." Sam's stomach twisted. It was the way David looked at Lily, so warm, so genuine. A warmth he had never shown Sam. Lily smiled, a little too brightly. "Thanks, David. We're all just trying to make this production perfect, right?" The words stung more than Sam wanted to admit. She could feel the weight of the moment. The unspoken truth was hanging in the air between them, and she knew it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. The rehearsal that night was chaotic. The tension between Sam and Lily was palpable, and though they tried to focus on the production, neither could ignore the growing divide between them. Sam could barely concentrate on her designs as she noticed Lily sneaking glances at David throughout the rehearsal, and David, for his part, kept sidling up to Lily as if they were the only two people in the room. It didn't escape Sam's notice that they were too comfortable with each other. As the night wore on, Sam finally couldn't take it anymore. She left the theater early, needing air, needing space. The cool breeze outside did little to calm her mind as she walked through the empty streets of downtown Charleston. Her heart felt heavy with doubt and confusion. She had trusted Lily. She had believed that after everything with David, they were a team, that they could handle anything together. But now, it felt like there were cracks in their friendship, cracks that would never be the same. She didn't know where she was going. She just needed to walk. That's when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned quickly, heart racing, to see Lily standing there in the dim streetlight, her expression unreadable. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was thick with unspoken words. "I had to talk to you, Sam," Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sam crossed her arms defensively. "Talk? About what?" "About David." Lily flinched, but then her face softened. "Yes. About David. And about everything that's been happening between us. I don't know how to fix this, Sam, but I can't keep pretending that nothing's wrong. You've been my best friend for years, and I don't want to lose you." Sam's heart ached at the sincerity in Lily's eyes, but there was still so much hurt. "Then why are you doing this, Lily? Why is he here? Why does it feel like you're pulling away from me?" Lily stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Because I didn't know how to tell you, Sam. I didn't know how to tell you that She paused, taking a deep breath, as if bracing herself for the impact of the words. "I've fallen in love with David. And I didn't want to hurt you." The words hit Sam like a punch to the gut. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, everything around her seemed to blur. You're with him? After everything?" Lily nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I never meant for it to happen. I thought it would just be a phase, but I can't deny it anymore, Sam. I'm sorry." Sam stood frozen, struggling to process everything. The betrayal. The shock. The heartbreak. She wanted to yell, to scream at Lily for doing this to her. But instead, she felt an overwhelming sadness wash over her. "I don't know who you are anymore, Lily. I never wanted to hurt you," Lily pleaded, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to choose between you and him. You both mean so much to me. But I can't pretend it's not real. I love him, Sam." Sam shook her head, unable to speak for a moment. The weight of the situation hung heavily between them. She had always believed that nothing could come between them, but now, everything had changed. The trust they'd built over years was shattered, and there was no going back. Without another word, Sam turned and walked away. She needed space, time to think, to breathe. She couldn't stay and keep pretending that everything would be fine. Not anymore. The next few days were a blur. Sam avoided both David and Lily, staying at the theater late into the night, trying to drown out the pain by focusing on her work. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't escape the ache in her chest. Her world had changed, and she didn't know if she could ever piece it back together. Finally, it was time for the grand premiere of the play. The theater was packed with an eager audience, But Sam's heart wasn't in it. As the curtain rose, she stood backstage, watching as Lily took the stage in her costume. She was beautiful, poised, but Sam couldn't help but see the cracks behind her eyes. She was just as broken as Sam felt. David was nowhere to be seen, and Sam didn't know if that was a blessing or a curse. As the final act of the play unfolded, Sam couldn't help but wonder if everything that had happened between her, Lily, and David had been leading to this moment. The raw emotion, the tension, the betrayal, it was all reflected in the performance. But as the curtain fell and the audience erupted into applause, Sam felt no joy. Lily approached her backstage afterward, hesitating before speaking. "Sam, please. I know I've hurt you. But I never meant to lose you as a friend. I still want to fix this, if you'll let me." Sam looked at her, her heart heavy. There was a time when she would have forgiven Lily without a second thought, but now, everything felt different. "I don't know if we can go back to what we were," she said softly. Lily nodded, tears in her eyes, but Sam knew it was the truth. Some things couldn't be undone. As Sam left the theater that night, walking into the quiet streets of Charleston, she realized that no matter how much she wished for things to be different, life had a way of pushing people apart when they needed it the most. All she could do now was move forward, one step at a time.